In this episode, we are unlocking the secrets to elevating your positioning so you can elevate your brand. And I'll share 3 game-changing pillars that I've used with all my clients and I have seen successful personal brands do as they're elevating and growing. Self-leadership, clear messaging, and scaled visibility. Get ready for real talk, actionable insights, and my goal is to give you a blueprint to start taking action this week. We are diving deep into crafting your own success story. I am so excited for you. Stay tuned for the inside scoop on cultivating a thriving community, unleashing your message, and becoming the go-to expert. Your business glow up starts right now.
Welcome to Creator to Leader. Are you struggling to connect with your ideal customers online? Are you confused about the most effective way to market your business? If you're ready to become the go-to expert in your industry and stand out from the crowd, this podcast is for you. Hey, I'm Eugenia. That's Eugenia in Spanish, but you can call me E. My mission is to help entrepreneurs stand out online so that they can grow their businesses. I do this through comprehensive marketing strategies, impactful content plans, and storytelling leadership. We both know you are running on caffeine and big dreams, so let's dive right in.
Welcome to another week of the podcast. This is episode 12. We are officially above 60% of all podcasts that never make it past 12 episodes. Well, I guess that I'm in the right in the middle line. And I'm moving, so I'm finding my recording situation. So you might sense different audio qualities, but it's fine. I have a great team. I have trust in them. I know that this is going to sound amazing thanks to them. And this week, I received a message from my client, Teresa Camley. She's my dream client. We've been working together for years. And I love when you get to know someone after a while. That's just so special. And she just shared her heart, her why with me, with the team. And man, it really got me fired up. I'm not going to lie. And I asked her if I could share this with you here on the podcast. And she said yes. And I thought it was so powerful. And she said, my goal is to change the paradigm of small business so more businesses can see their dream into reality. Small businesses were built on the hustle and grind and employ a lot of people. But most have a shaky foundation. That's why most small businesses don't make it after 18 months, and many that do shut down after 5 years. If I can help shift the way they think and execute with a strategy that is deeper than product, if their culture is healthy and they focus on human connection, it can push out into the world and ultimately impact humanity. Talk about vision. And I resonated with that a lot because my mom raised me and my brother through her business as an entrepreneur, and I saw her have the freedom, the creativity, and just the potential to not only change her life, but really the lives of the people that worked with her. I witnessed that firsthand. So I believe in the vision, and that's why I'm so inspired and excited about business owners finding their voice and taking space and really taking the center stage as they deserve. So that's all possible. That impact is possible when you scale your message. You take up space. When you do that, you get to impact more lives. You get to make a bigger change. So that's the beauty really of expanding your brand and elevating your positioning once you're ready to go to that next step. And not only that, there are so many other benefits. One of them is that your growth becomes horizontal because you are expanding your community. When you're growing your business, usually you have the cycle of getting more leads and then nurturing those leads and having those leads become clients. And that's perfect, but you do it in a vertical way. When you elevate your positioning, when you expand your brand, this growth also becomes horizontal because you are tapping into different audiences, different opportunities, different collaborations. And this is a concept that Santi from O Sierra taught me. When you step into leadership, not every person in your community is going to be a client. And that was a huge shift for me. And yes, ideally, many of them will buy from you in different points of your journey, but there are other roles in your community. So you have your cheerleaders, and those are the people that are happy to support you, that share your message. For me, were the people that helped me get the podcast in the top 40. You also have your expanders, and that's the people you look up to and who show you what's possible. And I'm a big fan of feed curation. I used to follow everyone. I used to follow without intentionality, and so many people were giving me anxiety. And I've learned that you need to make sure that you follow people and accounts that are adding value to your life. It doesn't have to be deep. It can be makeup accounts, fashion accounts. I do follow a lot of those accounts, but they add value. I love looking at pretty graphics and just getting inspired with cool videos. Make sure you follow those types of accounts. And I'm so quick to mute people if they're adding stress to my life. Sometimes there are people in relationships that you cannot unfollow. I hope no one's listening to me. But sometimes I just mute them. I'm like, I'm not going to unfollow you. I don't want to send the wrong message, but I definitely don't want to see that negativity in my feed. So I just mute them, if I'm being completely honest. Also, in your community, you have people for whom you are an expander. Just as you follow someone because they inspire you, there are people that follow you because you inspire them. You bring positivity, you bring joy. They see in you the source of inspiration and what's possible, and where they want to take their brands, where they want to take their business, or where they want to take their relationships. There are so many reasons someone can be looking up to you, and that is not even age related, right? I follow expanders that are younger than me. I just love the way they carry themselves or they take their businesses. I do follow a lot of beauty queens just because I think pageantry to me is a huge inspiration into having a platform and making the world a better place. As cheesy as it sounds, I do believe in that. So there are people that are following you because you expand them, and that's a great way to have impact. And then we have collaborators, and this is such an important segment of growing your community. Collaboration is key when you're growing your brand. And probably you've heard that business is all about relationships. And that's so true, because these are the people that are going to connect you with decision makers. These are the people that are going to connect you with potential clients, or maybe just introduce you to their audiences so you can reach more people. And collaborators are such an integral part of your community, because that's really a win-win relationship, because you also support them. You also make introductions for them. You also show them to your audience. You can share their launches. You can invite them to your podcast. Like, that's such an important piece to nurture. And the beautiful thing is that this community that you're growing as you are growing your brand, elevating your positioning, that is not static. Someone, for example, might be your collaborator and then become your client. Or maybe your expander will become your collaborator in the future. That has happened to me, and it has been so cool. That's why I love looking at your community and your audience as a living, breathing organism instead of just potential leads. I feel like looking at people as numbers and just a math equation is missing out on huge opportunities for growth, for impact, and personal fulfillment. So there are 3 key pillars to elevating your positioning. And every time I work with clients, we work on one or all of these pillars, and I'm actually working on a program that will address the foundation for all of this, which I'm very excited about. And actually, I was going to leave this pillar for third, but I think it has to be first. And that is self-leadership, because you cannot lead others until you learn to lead yourself. You are the guide of your community's journey. As you are sharing your journey, as a leader, really, it's not from a place of ego, but from a place of let me share from my experiences and relate it back to you and paint a picture of possibilities. So when you look at your audience that way, they are the heroes. They are the ones going through a journey, and you're facilitating that journey for them. Then you understand that your audience is not there to validate you. And I know it sounds tough, but I've been there so many times that I'm so passionate about this. I have been there waiting for the applause to tell me that I am enough. that I am good, that I am an expert. The thing is that that is not your audience job. They're there to be guided by you. It's about them. The focus really, when you take the spotlight, you are reflecting it back on your audience, which I think is so cool. And that's what being a leader is about, right? You take this first step, you go first, but you're pulling people up with you. Go back to my episode on sympathy and empathy. That's the one on being salesy. And you're going to understand why a leader is empathetic and brings people up. The second pillar of this is having a clear messaging. And your message needs to be clear. Duh. Like, I'm not, reinventing the wheel here. But I feel like I need to say it because we think we're clear, but really we're not as clear as we think we are being. Clear means having full clarity on the problem you're solving and what result you are providing. Meaning, if I am teaching you time management, at the end, you need to be able to manage your time. Sure, maybe you're going to work on boundaries. You're going to work on your relationship with yourself. You're going to improve your relationships with your family because you manage your time. Absolutely. But if the promise is time management, you need to deliver on that promise. You need to provide that transformation. And I have experienced when sometimes clients, they want to expand a little bit from what they're currently providing and deliver a bigger transformation than just time management, and they feel constrained. And I'm not talking about being constrained. I'm talking about being clear. And I'm going to give you an example. And this is not my client, even though if Amy, if you're listening, please call me. Even though you're doing a wonderful job. Amy Porterfield. And I'm going to talk about her later in this episode. So I wanted to just give you a background on who she is. She's a course creator. She's a digital marketing expert. She's had one of the top ranked podcasts on marketing in the world for years. So she teaches you to build an online course. She recently launched her book. It's called 2 Weeks Notice. And I went through her website and I did this exercise. Her problem that she's solving is the problem of not having freedom or of feeling trapped. So her method really of launching a business, creating a course, everything she does is with the goal of giving you freedom and autonomy over your life. That is a transformation. Her problem and her thing is freedom, building a life of freedom. And everything revolves around that. Now, I don't want you to be overwhelmed because there are different seasons in life. So, she's been doing online courses and she was ready for, the next step. Maybe you are still in this space where you really want to be known as the expert in online courses, in the case of Amy, or in whatever it is that you do. So don't think that you have to find this bigger philosophical problem that you're solving. Not at all. I'm just giving you an example of a problem that feels philosophical, but it is solved in a very tangible way and through a very tangible framework. In Amy's case, her solution to having a life of freedom is launching an online business. So if you want more background on this, I have episode 2 or 3 of the podcast. But remember, keep in mind, solve this tangible problem and offer a solution that's a direct answer to that problem. And I'm actually excited, as I mentioned, because soon I'm opening the doors to the better opportunity to work together to help you become the go-to expert in your industry to scale your business and your messaging. This is going to be for you if you are ready to be seen and recognized as an expert. If you have a stable business and now you're ready to expand, you will get to be your own PR person. You will have a solid foundation that will be the catalyst for your growth. Because so many times I see business owners implementing expansion tactics that are isolated, just like I'm going to do podcast pitching, or I'm going to launch a podcast, or I'm going to do a PR tour. And all those things are very useful. But if you don't have the solid foundation of all the pillars we are talking about today, and you don't know your messaging and you are not confident in who you are as a leader and showing up powerfully as an expert, all those strategies are going to fail because you don't have this strong foundation. So that's what we're going to build together. I am very excited for that. That's opening up very soon. And I have the link to sign up for the waitlist at the show notes, or you can go directly to reachhighermedia.com/waitlist. So now for the third and final pillar, visibility. And gosh, I think we have to make a whole episode about this. There are 3 elements of visibility: your content, your online presence, and your collaborations. So for your content, I go deep on episode 4 of the podcast. So go please take a listen to this. But becoming a go-to expert, elevating your positioning, when doing that, your Instagram content is not enough. You need some type of long form content, whether that's your newsletter or a podcast, or maybe you can start doing a series on Instagram Live and then you take the audio transcript and upload it as a blog post. You need to start building this blueprint, right, of who you are and what are your perspectives in the online world that will elevate your credibility online. So how can you start taking smaller actions that will build this authority? Then we have your online presence, and this is about how you're showing up online. And are you congruent? Is it to the best of your standards? It's not about being perfect. Some of the experts we all love, they have high budgets for production. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting a standard for your expertise and being that best version. Once you have that clear messaging and once you understand this concept of self-leadership and you're working on that, schedule some time to go through everything. Do an audit. I'm talking from social media profiles to the copy of your website to your email nurture sequences. At this point, we're not going deep. I'm not telling you to revamp your whole website because I say this and a lot of people are like, oh, I know I have to redo my website. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about going to what you already have and tweak the words, change the headings. How can you make small tweaks that speak to who you are as an expert with that messaging? And you can have different tones in different platforms. Absolutely. I actually love when experts, they are very maybe friendly on their podcast and they're more authoritative on their newsletter and they're more polished on Instagram, or maybe they are super friendly on Instagram and they are just crazy and they say everything on Twitter. Like, I love when experts do that. You can have different tones, but your brand and your messaging needs to be cohesive. And lastly, with this visibility piece, we have our collaborations. And yes, collaborators are part of your community, but I'm talking about expanding your collaborations. Building collaborations organically you need to do that, but you also need to have an intentional collaboration strategy. That's so important. My 2 favorite strategies to get started are Instagram Live series that you do with an expert. It's very quick turnaround, low production, and podcast guesting. That one takes a little bit more time, but they will help you get in front of more people, get your message across different audiences, and that will provide this horizontal growth we talked about in the beginning. And going back to Amy Porterfield, there was a collab I love. I don't know if this was this year, last year. She launched her book and she did a book tour. And we know that authors do that, right? They go on a podcast tour with the biggest podcast and we start seeing them all over the place. But Amy was super smart because she was not only going to podcasts that were big names and speaking to high ticket clients. So she got really creative. She said, the promise I'm offering here is giving you freedom by helping you start an online business. So she got creative and said, where are people that are going to be primed to be impacted and helped by this message? So she went to the podcast Cubicle to CEO with Ellen Jean. She's amazing. One of my favorite podcasters and just business owner in general. She's brilliant. And her podcast is about going from having a cubicle full-time job to being a CEO and then growing in your CEO mindset, strategy, tips for growth, like all the things. So Amy went to that podcast. The audience was a perfect fit. And she didn't need a huge audience, like an audience big as hers, because it was so specific. And she knew that these people had a problem that she could help them solve. Okay, so I know I just threw a lot at you. So let's recap, okay? The 3 pillars of expanding your brand and becoming the go-to expert in your industry are self-leadership, knowing who you are, where you need to regulate yourself emotionally so you don't depend on your audience for validation. Then we have clear messaging. Be clear about the specific problem you solve and make sure you are providing a specific result that answers that problem. And then scale visibility. This goes from your long form content to your online presence to your collaborations. I believe that this is the best time to take space in the digital world, to let your expertise shine. And this is not from a place of ego, but from a place of purpose, from a place of impact. I cannot wait to see you take the spotlight. I am rooting for you. See you next time. Un beso.
I hope you loved this episode. If you connected with the podcast in some way, please rate it and review it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That is the #1 way you can support the show. And because sharing is caring, share it with a fellow entrepreneur wanting to become a leader, not just a creator. I am so grateful for you. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM over to @Eugenia.woo. That's @EUGENIA.WOO. And if you only send me a microphone emoji, I will know that you stayed till the end. Thank you for listening. See you soon.